A lot of you already know this, but the BBC is completely compromised. And this is not something new. I mean, it wasn't very long ago when the BBC had as its chairman Richard Sharp, a donor to the Conservative Party, also supporting the incumbent Prime Minister of the Conservative Party, Boris Johnson, and so acting as a state apparatus for the ruling party. But the BBC has been more and more transparent in its dehumanisation of the Palestinian people. Just look at how the BBC compares strikes on innocent Palestinians compared to innocent Ukrainians. There is no recognition of the fact that Israel was the one responsible for the airstrikes on Gaza, yet they're very easy, they're very free to explain that Russia were the ones attacking Ukrainians. But before I continue on, I will say that BBC in the past, I would, if you asked me, let's say 10 years ago, I would have been the first one to say, the BBC, is an important institution in that it creates good quality content. It's produced the likes of, animal and geographical documentaries that incorporate people like David Attenborough. It's also had really good comedy shows, comedy road shows. It's had, within its roster, people like Frankie Boyle, who happens to be pro-Palestinian. Although they didn't employ him because he was pro-Palestinian, he just happens to be a coincidence. But the BBC has, in its past, and even in its current state, produced some good quality content. That being said, the moral stakes at this point are too high. And I would propose boycotting the BBC, in all its myriad outlets, as is reasonably possible, because they are using kind of dehumanizing language and using lies by omission, in ignoring the plight, the suffering of the Palestinian people. And also, on top of that, to add insult to injury, running cover for them, carrying water for Israel and its genocidal onslaught. We've seen the comparison between the Russian strikes and Israel strikes. There's no recognition that Israel are the one bombarding Gaza. And then something that made my blood boil like a month ago was how the BBC treated the death of a man with Down syndrome in Gaza. This is how they introduced it the first time they discussed the death of this man with Down syndrome. Apparently, it was a man who died a lonely death, as if, he was on his rocking chair and he just passed away peacefully. Only that they had to change it later on because, of course, the BBC had omitted in its headline that he was attacked by IDF dogs. But this is not an accident. This is intentional framing. As you'll see by the end of this video, how it kind of like gives the benefit of the doubt to Israel when all evidence points to the truth that Israel is intentionally killing people in Palestine. So let's take one step forward. How BBC treated somebody like Tracy Ann Oberman. Now, it's Tracy Ann Oberman is a person who's been found lying and propagandizing October 7th, in that she's spreading lies about some of those hostages taken from Israel, from Gaza, being made pregnant by Hamas. Of course, it was found to be a lie, spreading this atrocity propaganda. She's also lied in the past regarding anti-Semitism allegations, of which, as a result, she had to pay out damages. So this is not a morally credible individual. I would, if I was BBC, I would not employ her. Furthermore, she's shown herself to be without any, credibility, any kind of moral standing. So why would you therefore employ her, somebody who's been utilizing and been in support of a genocide on the Palestinian people? At the very least, genocide denial. At the very, the worst, which I think is happening, she's pro-genocide without actually saying it out loud. Now, this, with the Russian strikes, with what's happening, of course, with individual situations, it paints a picture. You can see a pattern emerging. But what really pissed me off was, who added more insult to injury, I was already pissed off, was how they treated Halimi. I probably butchered that name. He's a prominent blogger, big on TikTok. This man who was killed by an Israeli airstrike. Apparently, it's an alleged Israeli airstrike in the headline. However, when you actually read the actual article itself, you find out that, there's evidence to suggest that he was killed by shrapnel from an Israeli missile. So clearly it's not alleged, it's matter of fact. And what airstrike would it be otherwise? To plant seeds of doubt simply only benefits those committing the atrocity. You wouldn't say, oh, the Holocaust was allegedly committed by Germans, in the National Socialist Party. That merely benefits and gives cover to those in the National, Socialist Party. Why would you plant that language for the normies? Because the normies don't have time to read. They don't have time to read into, a lot of them don't even read the whole article itself. So what we really need to do is honor the Palestinian lives, and the best that we can do, some of what we can do is boycott the BBC as much as possible. I mean, boycott has worked with Starbucks, and I will end this video with a reminder of the life of Halimi. How he lived his life, how he was actually highly inspirational fella, full of creativity, full of life, and that life is snuffed out by Israel. So this is a video from his latest TikTok, and you can tell why he was so popular. He was passionate about Palestinian life, and of course he showcased the mass suffering, whilst at the same time doing it with the best of attitude that he could deal, with the situation at hand. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and stay tuned for this video.
Let me show you what a day of my tent life looks like. I started the day with a cup of coffee, and then I went to lay down because it was so hot. After a bit, I took my phone and laptop to charge him. This is what they look like. And when I got there, I ordered a lemonade. So refreshing. As I waited for them to charge, I started working on designs for my new secret project. I then got the phone and went to get a haircut. I need one. Tell me how it looks. Right now it's 6 p.m, so I'm almost done with everything in my day. I went to the tent cafe to get connected to the internet, and I edited the video. Then I went live on TikTok. And that's it for today. Don't forget to drop a follow and like the video.